Watchparty. Slash on Wet Shine.
Instant vitamin lip color. Hydrating wet shine.
16 high pigment shades.
Wetter is better.
NYX professional makeup.
Now Taxes is getting the TurboTax app. And filing your taxes yourself 100% free if you didn't file with us last year. Now this is Taxes. File free in the app by 2/18. When you switch to TurboTax, do it yourself.
No. Their position above. Oh, finally, it does look like they're going to try to make their way down, and they have to orb their way down there because you saw what happens otherwise. They run right into another team, but Hound's going down. Aiden's going to follow. High R's just left by himself, and there's no heals, but at least his teammates did their job. They're 4 damage above the threshold.
Yeah, that's not going to be enough. This just means that another team picks up the pressure here. They find a tag, and look at that. Sets them right back into the same situation he was in before. Now, granted, he's got some extra heals left over here, so he will be able to play for something here. It's a glimmer of hope stays alive, but it's going to be only a matter of time here. Hey, you know what? He might actually rat his way to placements. Oh.
He could. The only thing that
looking like
it's going to be a long game if that's his plan, because placement points haven't really even begun to set in just yet, but at least he's trying to give himself an opportunity. You see him moving back on over the island, trying to get as much of the loot that was left behind, and especially since every single team is stuck down below him, and because of the wind tunnels that they don't want to take those towards the high ground, it's going to be Mask and Typhoon Blades as a way of rotation for everybody.
There it is. The movement starts to come out. Zone's popping its way back towards the Magic Mosses. And if you're on the backside, you are late to the party at this point, so Oni Mask can be the best way to, of course, get across here. Steph, Kyan, and Verge are on the way right now. Right behind the trio they go.
Ooh,
you can
saw that, right?
Also. Yep. He has the boon there.
Thanks for that crash from Aiden and Howard.
Mm-hmm.
I almost would like to have seen them utilize that just a little bit more, but hey, one team trash is another team's treasure. They can definitely use that, especially if they get separated in a solo clutch situation. As Yamzo, Batman, Booga, and Clicks continue to try to make their way into the front side of the zone. They usually want to be one of the first teams there, claim space, and be able to do just this. Look back and try to cause chaos to anybody's game.
They found themselves in this spot multiple times. This is the best we've seen them, though. The most amount of material we've seen them this late into the game, not even depending on a refresher. Meanwhile, High are waiting to the very literal last minute here before he leaves off the high ground positioning, even waiting for the late Oni Mask rotate. Meanwhile, Clixie, Yamzo, Batman, Booga trying to find their way into a layer. Braids was going to be the team of choice there, but end up spotting them out here.
And this is what kind of Vivid was alluding to in the pre-show. Because of trios, you can really pack a punch, break through, whether it's brick or metal, in a matter of seconds, and try to get that piece, especially on a team that might not necessarily see it coming. But another pull for a lot of these guys, and you can see quickly being acted. Zeus trying to connect on the other side. Tony, Creon, they're the ones that have the high ground. The connection is going to be secured. So shooting them down is going to be a tough job. They're the ones that have the high ground. The connection is going to be secured. So shooting them down is going to be a tough job. They're the ones that have the high ground. The connection is going to be secured. So shooting them down is going to be a tough job. They're the ones that have the high ground. The connection is going to be secured. So shooting them down is going to be a tough job. They're the ones that have the high ground. The connection is going to be secured. So shooting them down is going to be a tough job. They're the ones that have the high ground. The connection is going to be secured. So shooting them down is going to be a tough job. They're the ones that have the high ground. The connection is going to be secured. So shooting them down is going to be a tough job. They're the ones that have the high ground. The connection is going to be secured. So shooting them down is going to be a tough job. They're the ones that have the high ground. The connection is going to be secured. So shooting them down is going to be a tough job. They're the ones that have the high ground. The connection is going to be secured. So shooting them down is going to be a tough job. They're the ones that have the high ground. The connection is going to be secured. So shooting them down is going to be a tough job. They're the ones that have the high ground. The connection is going to be secured. So shooting them down is going to be a tough job. They're the ones that have the high ground. The connection is going to be secured. So shooting them down is going to be a tough job. They're the ones that have the high ground. The connection is going to be secured. So shooting them down is going to be a tough job
We'll be right back.
just yet. They have to figure out how they're going to win this, but Clicks, he's now stuck as a duo along with Yamzo. Batman Booga is down, out. Mats are quickly running out as well. They need a miracle here in order to stay alive.
They don't have any mats, though. Clicks just has to continue to fight back. I'm not even sure if this is worth the pickup right now, but they're going to go for it. 3 alive, all back in the game right now. They decide, you know what? We want Batman Booga in the game right now. Meanwhile, Yamzo does have that invisibility from sprinting there. You can see it ends up finding his way into a layer. He is so hard to keep track of. Braids has no idea where he is, where the shots are coming from. And Yamzo is turning online right now. Finally now, has material, has mats, Clicks. In all that chaos, ends up falling first. And now, 3 teams remaining. Of course, the trio up top, and just Yamzo, Batman Booga, and Vert in the mix.
Yeah, that medallion is a difference maker right here. As hard as it might be, they still have to get through Vert first. That one's easy. 2v3 situation. Yamzo and Batman Booga on the low ground, but they have that medallion. The team's going to finally drop down. They have the win condition as well if it does come down to heal off, but they need to be very, very careful when they give up those siphons because they're changing layers. Batman Booga has the high ground. Yamzo gets dropped. 1v3 situation. Gets the knock on to Tony. He goes down to his teammates. He's trying to get the siphon. Batman Booga gets it just in time. Trying to stay alive. Moves to the backside of the zone, but only for so long. He has to try to go on the offensive with the Typhoon Blade. He's trying to make magic happen. Almost gets a knock, but it's just too late. Zeus and Creon hold on to clutch the game.
With 16 eliminations as well, doing it in such a ridiculous fashion. They have dusted this entire lobby right back to the next battle bus. And just like that, Batman Booga kept it interesting for us, but what a win. And what a way to close out game number 3 there, Jacob.
Yeah, Creon, Zeus, Tony. It was just kind of an easy, simple game from them. As soon as they were able to get high ground, they had nobody contest them, no reason to look back, especially when Encrypted goes down and just say, hey, here's some more loot, man. You guys are doing a good job. Make sure you keep it. And they just kind of solidified and played this last situation perfect. Yamzo gets dropped first, 3v1 situation. You even got the Bob going down there for a quick moment as just Creon bounces around trying to avoid the Typhoon Blade with another team making it to the Major 1 finals when 2 games left. We got to throw it to our analyst desk to let us know what these teams have to do different.
What do we do different? We let these guys out of the lobby. We push them to finals. How do we deal with that? 16 eliminations and just the way that these guys were fighting in every single step of that last zone, just hip to hip. Anytime they get aggressed, they go together. They try and like force these fights into their favor. So well executed from the trio. And to think that kind of stopping power is going straight to finals. I don't know how we deal with that, friends. I don't know what we do. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, this is something that actually I kind of expected out of Zeus, Creon, and Tony during one of the more recent performance evaluations where only 4 teams can get victory royales. They were actually one of the teams that was able to claim a victory royale in the most recent performance evaluation. So to see them grab another victory royale today, and especially in the way that they did it, where they held height, were the first team of the day for North America to kind of hold height from the beginning and continue that on. I'm glad to see that they're able to keep that performance going from the performance evaluations.
Yeah, one of those situations, right, where we looked up, we got the POV of this team, and they've just got double floors, double cones across all of the moving zones. They had so many eliminations actually going into the moving zones that they could just afford to do that, which is why we're actually, you know, see the first team able to actually hold height throughout the rest of the game. Kind of got a little dicey there at the end, though, with Batman Booga on the other side of the 1v2, but they ended up closing it out.
It's wild that like in a situation where like Batman Booga and Yamzo are not there, then we can look to contest high ground, right? But the moment that you've just got Yamzo running around invisible on your layer or on the low ground, all bets are off. All bets are off. We'll discuss more of that in just a minute. First, a quick little break, then we'll be back with more action from the FNCS.
Here's what's in Taco Bell's new $5, $7, and $9 cravings boxes. The $5 Lux Cravings box. It comes with a beefy 5-layer burrito, the $7 Lux Cravings box. It comes with the chicken chalupa supreme, the $9 Lux Cravings box. It comes with the cheesy dipping burritos.
Hey, it's me, your skin. Some cleansers get us clean, but take my moisture. CeraVe cleansers help me maintain my moisture balance with hyaluronic acid plus 3 essential ceramides to help restore my natural barrier. So we're CeraVe clean.
CeraVe Hydrating Cleanser.
Return the stolen Butterfingers. Or walk the plank. Ooh. No one lays a finger on your Butterfinger. Ever.
It's for you. Do you like it? Come on, Charlie. Use your new door. Come on, let's go. I said go. Let's go. Silly dog. I'm gonna trade you for a cat. Red Bull gives you wings.
The new Red Bull Zero is here. 100% wings with monk fruit extract.
But we'll just live in this while we can. The Victory Royale already happened, going over to Creon, Zeus, and Tony. 16 elims in case you missed that. But let's break down what else we saw in that last game. I want to highlight once again, going back to Iamzo there. This guy just looks like a different beast. When you give him that medallion, being able to just have that infinite sprint, he's literally changing layers moment to moment while invisible. Like, you just don't have time to react. You're like, everything's fine. I'm in a safe zone. And then suddenly Iamzo's just there shooting you in the back of the head with like 150 damage. And you're like, bro, what am I supposed to do, Iamzo? Stop!
I am loving this Iamzo that we're seeing. Don't get me wrong, Iamzo and Rise were an incredible duo throughout the last few years. They've been really consistent, played together for a long time. But I just feel like the energy and vibes that we're getting from this trio is bringing Iamzo to a whole nother level.
Yeah, I mean, Iamzo, though, just put on such a clinic right now. Has the most eliminations out of the trio right now. And another interesting stat that I was kind of looking at is that Iamzo also has the most amount of builds placed in everybody that's been playing today, right? And then there's also talks like, you know, Iamzo's the IGL of the trio. So right now, you know, do with what that information what you will. All of it kind of points to Iamzo is having one heck of a day, and it is putting the Clix, Batman, Bugha, and Iamzo trio right now in first place on that consistency leaderboard, already at 221 points.
Yeah, you say that it's first place, but Zeke, there's a number 4 next to them. No. Yeah, no, listen, it's because they're doing so well that they keep putting themselves up, and that, you know, now that we have 3 teams that have moved through, that puts them in the 4th position. But seriously, Clix, Batman, Bugha, Iamzo, they're playing so differently than what we saw in the play-ins right now, and I'm wondering if that's kind of causing an issue in their play style. They did struggle a little bit with Storm Surge in game number 3, so that could be a possible reason as to why we're not seeing them get the Victory Royale. But as far as I can tell, obviously the math isn't fully done yet. I think it's safe to say that this trio has made their way into the grand finals through consistency.
Yeah, and I think as well, something to note on the fact that with now 2 end games, we've seen Clix get focused out, right? We've had these guys by themselves as just a duo in the situations. If all 3 of these members are left alive, then you can just let Iamzo off the leash, right? Just, hey, go hyper aggressive. But when you're just a duo in that situation, it's just left off the Batman Bugha, right? Like, okay, I have to 1v3 while Iamzo's changing layers and trying to just one-pump everyone he can. Okay, you know, like a different situation there if Clix is left alive. In 9th place, though, we did also want to highlight Bryce there. These guys are also in that striking range. They still have 2 games left to go to make sure they end in that top 5. They've had a few slip-ups on the day, but, like, you know, we're starting to come online, it feels like.
Yeah, and they definitely have everything that they need to kind of set themselves up for success, landing over boxcars. You can see that they have the Mythic AR there, and controlling the low ground seems to be causing a few issues where they just don't have the awareness that they need to keep all 3 players alive to the very end. But they only need a few more points, another high-placing game to kind of push themselves up into that top 5.
Yeah, I mean, this trio is actually placed better every single game as it goes on, so hopefully they're able to kind of continue with that trend. And we kind of love to talk about experience, especially when it comes to Fortnite competitive. There's actually 2 trios combined for the most experience if you look at total FNCS finals amongst the trio, and that tie is actually going to be between Clix, Batman Booga Yamzo, and then Reet, Bryce, and Vert. Both of those trios have a combined 48 total FNCS finals appearances, and the following trio behind them only has 28. That is how big that gap is right now in experience.
And because I'm contractually obligated to talk about Reed as much as I can, he actually has the most FNCS finals appearances out of any player here. And that might be due to the fact that he's coming from NA West, then moved over to NA Central, where now it's kind of split up a bit. But he obviously has a great, I'm loving this team. You know, it used to be Bryce and Bolts and Reed and Ritual, where they would kind of fight each other back in Chapter 5. And to see them kind of group up together now in a similar POI, I think that there's something working there. They just need to work out a few more kinks.
That's right. That's right. Look, it's fine, right, Kelly? We have 2 games. Anything can happen. Let's see how this all shakes out. MDF, Jacob PR, take it away.
Thank you so much, Zeke, and that's right. I mean, I'm looking at the drop that just opened up. Pumped Power, right? Magic Moss's team winning, nearly taking out Demon's Dojo team winning, but all of a sudden this entire northern area, Jacob, seems to be shaking up.
Yeah, it definitely is opening up a lot of different opportunities. We've seen it after game number 1. Immediately, teams are switched up these drops. And the power plant, that's good. There's a lot of meta. I talked about the lack of that material throughout different portions of the map. If a team chooses to switch on over here, they'll be able to get some valuable resources that they might not have had in these earlier games. But it's going to be ready for game number 4. Time is winding down, so let's get into it.
Couldn't agree more, Jacob. Game number 4 is underway. Group 1 has given us a very, very eventful evening, but mostly because Clix and company still remain in the fight. Reets and Trio are still in the fight here, and other teams that we expect to do well are in the conversation as well. And you know what? The standings are starting to get down to the wire now as we're looking at the performing teams and the points there. It might not even go down for Reed, Bryce, and Vert here to a win. It might come down to them just staying a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, you can see that the trio that they're going up against here over Touch Demon's Dojo. Game number 1, they landed on the outskirts of the mountain. As each game passes, they realize their position on the leaderboard. They're getting more and more risky, and that's sometimes something that you have to do. Try to take a risk, and hopefully it pays off later in the game, because this is a good amount of loot, and they're together as a team, unlike some of the games before.
Yeah, this almost feels desperate from Beast Champ and Intercept here, as they've only got 12 points. This puts them down at the bottom half of the standing here overall for team performances. 8 and higher have had a much more successful Demon's Dojo run, given that they've not only secured the mythical Oni mask and the upgrades, of course, that drop here from the boss, but more importantly, have made it off drop every single game so far in the first 3. Now, with slim chances left, teams like Beast and Champo may just have to pull a Victory Royale out or be sent back to the next stage.
Yeah, outside of a Victory Royale, it almost seems like a couple of top 3s, top 2s with multiple eliminations, which is definitely possible. We just seen, what, 16 eliminations in that last game?
Oh, yeah.
Which is something that you don't want to just have to bank on, especially with game 4 being right now, and then game 5, the last game of the day, coming up next.
Clipsianzo, Batman Booga taking it into their own hands to rotate north last game out of the Lost Lake, and it seems like we might be seeing the same type of strategy come into place here as the team starts to spread out a bit right now.
Kind of standard. They got a lot of the elemental chests around them. A lot of the teams around them as well, probably looting up, so there's no real rush for them to try to get that surge, because they know depending on where the zone goes or where it pulls very, very early on, that really dictates their path and where they're going to rotate to try to get as much damage so they don't have to fight for it later.
It does look like a lot of trios do tend to stay at their drops nowadays, as opposed to quick rotating. That's just the nature of trios, I guess, though. Bigger teams, more to loot. Really want to scrap it down dry.
Seeing a lot of teams around the lobby. Some having some really good games early on. Others kind of faltering as the day has went on. This team right here, they started off with high hopes as second place with 11 elims. Then the following game after, 15th place with 7, and then a 10th place with 1. They are in a good standing in terms of the leaderboard, but if they continue to have that same trajectory, they're going to be one of those last game wonders, hoping they really make it to the Major 1 finals.
Look at what we've been seeing out of this trio right here. We're giving you guys the full update on all of our top position teams right now. Curve, Tyler, and Shadow. We expected to likely pull through with the Victor Royale. This is the strongest drop, arguably, available on this Fortnite Chapter 6 right now. The Flooded Frogs, with all the additions here now, really set this team apart. But this is all going to be short-lived. This is just a Group 1 fantasy world we're living in right now, given that it's a very much limited lobby. Come finals, you start seeing the likes of Peterbot and team next week. We'll see how everything starts to change up.
I will say, for any team that doesn't get a victory out, that doesn't get into that top 5, luckily for them, their season isn't going to be over. There's still that last chance qualifier that they'll be able to run through and try to give them hope. But I call this the golden opportunity, because instead of getting 5 games in your group, you get 3 games. It's win and you're in. That's the only opportunity. So you don't want to wait for that to come along to really play your best Fortnite.
I like what we're seeing right now, though. Vert with the ambush. Bryce likely playing the high ground position here. This is onto Kira, Hefe. Little closer, and they'll have a full-on box out. Oh, yeah, it's not looking good for Hefe Bob here. Oh, the double shotgun connects and the full finish there. But no, it's just and Vert here, so that couldn't be a better team for them to go ahead and set this one up for now. They've kind of evened the playing field for themselves here, and sometimes you just do pull the shorter end of the stick here, and it seems like for Reet and Vert, they're just trying to make do with what they got.
Oh, this is a big game for Reet and Vert, too. They're just on the cusp. They're on the cusp. If they don't win, they want to make it as far as possible, and maybe one of those teams above them in the bubble go ahead and qualify, but they already got that first elimination. Even with another team trying to threaten and throw them off guard, they're still figuring out a way to get aggressive, continuously pushing forward, and they've separated that player as a solo. Big elimination for them. That's their second one already in the books.
Big elimination right there. Good damage as well, and off they go. No plans to find another full trio like this out in the open if they don't have to. Using those very precious Oni mask charges there, it's going to be super worth at this point. Look at Bert just looking around, trying to see if they can catch some cheeky tags. Nicely done there. Kind of bending back into things.
We started this game with about a 24-point lead over that last spot. Bonzo. This is the team that was kind of thinking about contesting them over towards Brutal Boxcars. Good to see them start to get an elimination. Vigils is back up. Braids and Diminish doing a good job claiming Foxy. This is where teams normally get their metal and a lot of their material. But since they're all down here, my real wonder is how they're going to get back up and get in a position to get Surge.
We think about this leaderboard right here. Clicks and 221 points. Visuals, Braids, and Diminish trailing just behind at 209. You can see the huge gap, and then things start to really fall off here. So a lot of teams will have to play catch up. If you're up inside the top 4 right now, we should say, you're basically leading very well. The other 3 spots, of course, secured to those that won those games 1 through 3. So not too bad for our teams up at the top.
Does look like we're gonna have another zone though, pulling towards the south. So for them, some of those teams that usually get their surge in this fashion, fighting on the northern side of the zone overall, you want to be able to get that surge fighting as much as possible and as quick as possible, because if the zone continues to pull south even from here, that's where you're going to have a hard time finding your position in towards the zone, because so many other teams will already have beat you on that pathing.
Oh, Clicks is hurt. Yamzo, no HP either. They're still in the storm right here. This is a very tough situation for them to be in. Or from their drop, rotating far to the west coast right now. I mean, they've already caught an elimination off this team here. Batman Booga looking for scraps here. Can he find his players out in the open, though? Seems like they've lost track of them, and they're just going to give it up. Jacob, that's looking a little worse for wear right now for team favorite.
Yeah, almost shades and flashbacks of the couple earlier games we have where they were actually down on Surge, having to fight for it time and time again later on in the same game. And that's why I see them kind of chasing these teams outside of zone. They're moving towards their west, so hopefully with all these teams that landed there already moving in towards the center of that zone, they're hoping after they get this Surge, maybe they can get a spot in towards zone. But everybody else kind of doing something similar.
A little bit of a play here from Death and Cryptid and Sales right now, playing a little bit of this low ground, trying to rotate, but Ayo, KD's got the high ground right now, shooting his way on down. Nice little angle for him to play here. Things are really starting to settle down right now. It seems like teams are picking up the pace here. And you can really tell when desperation starts to set in. More and more teams find themselves playing the outer edges. It becomes more and more difficult in the late games to rotate freely around these outskirts. But with a win condition format, anything can happen. That's probably what keeps most of the teams grounded at this point.
Over towards Mass. One of the team that won today won from Mass Meadows, but it was a triple contested drop. So instead of a spot just opening up, just some of the pressure alleviated for some of the teams that are still there. Some of which might be in this fight, but you see a couple more on the outskirts, some on the western part of that mountain, some on the south part of Mass Meadows, while everything's breaking down here, just trading back and forth, just trying to give themselves an upper hand in this fight, which nobody's feeling confident enough to go just yet. They realize with only 2 games left, there's a lot of risk, and is it worth this reward?
Yeah, I definitely agree that this might be a little bit sketchy for a team like Lures, who's got 60 points already, so they're not out of the question for a top 5. If they can make an endgame here, this is a very, very risky battle, though. If they lose this now, they'll put themselves in a position where they have to win a game. Sort of like Cricket, Smoked, and Nox may have to do. Already, team was wiped here by Smoke, Cricket, and Nox. So, confidence is up top. Look at this. Other trios are watching in the distance.
This is just a tough situation to be in because, as you said, others are watching this all play out in the distance. No matter what happens here, win, lose, or just disengage, all these other teams are already going to have rotated, picked their spot, and you have a chance to really look back. And while all that is going on, you also aren't being able to refarm, aren't being able to use your resources, and since you're taking damage, you're using a lot of the heals that you need later on in the game.
Yep, we do see that happen all the time. Take the wrong fights, and a lot of times it just does come down to decision making, and that's why preparation is super key. Look at this, Reinvert still finding opportunities. When we last seen them, they had 2 eliminations. They're about to make it 4 now, as they've just caught X off here, and someone catches the finish. So Reet doesn't care. He wants to secure the elim. He wants to get those mats as well. And look at this. This dude had heals for days on a big pot shieldfish and even some mobility to work with, but he's probably going to be content with what he's got here. Oni Mask is really all you need at this point, and surely they have enough damage now as far as making it to endgame is concerned. Meanwhile, Clixie, Aljo, and Batman Boog. Okay, so from the outskirts in the zone, looking truly worse for wears, now into another team fight. What are they doing differently here that makes them want to fight in the mid game? All of today, Jacob, we've seen them make it to endgame with 0 elims, but now they've seen more aggressive than ever.
I think it's more so to do with the zone pull and the realize where they're at on the leaderboard. They really have a lot less to lose than a lot of the other teams here in this lobby. They have all but their spot already secured, so they're just trying to get aggressive for their Storm Surge, because I referenced the game earlier on where it was, I think, 6th zone, maybe 7th zone. They were down on Surge, having to fight for it, and when everybody's in that close proximity, you don't want to leave it to just fighting and having to pre-P somebody for Surge. So I actually like what I'm seeing out of Clix, Batman, Booga, and Yamzo, getting aggressive, trying to control as much of their destiny as possible.
That's right. I mean, with over 220 points now, they should be near impossible to topple over as far as making it to finals is concerned. So from here on out, it's all uphill. We're just riding away, but Reinvert can't be said the same of, as they only have 126 points. which puts them very much at the, I'd say the bare minimal, right, of where you want to be at the current moment. Ooh, big shots coming in. Look, when we first saw Reed just a couple moments ago, he had 3 big pods. He's now down to none and just the shield fish. This is not looking good. Vert and Reed have to back out here. It's against Ayo, Liam, and Toronto, and they're going for the chase here. Typhoon Blade in hand. Full health as well to work with, and oh no, Reed and company rotate right into Shadow, Tyler, and Curve's team. A very, very sound team out of the Flooded Frogs.
Yeah, you can see Reed all by himself now. Vert was taken down with less than 50 HP, trying to continue to separate himself. He's hoping almost that that other team does crash. Be a distraction. Give him an opportunity to get on out, because if he can sneak away Vert's reboot card where the zone's pulling, if he moves towards the north, that will be his opportunity to try to get it back. But it's all about survival here. Curve, Tyler, Shadow trying to go ahead and put pedal to the metal, get a little bit aggressive. Not necessarily for the eliminations, but they loot that they know is down there.
Yeah, this is all of Vert's old gear right here. AOKD sitting right on top of right now. Tries to fire back, doesn't really find anything. It's almost a full reset at this point. I wonder what's going through the team comms right now of Ayo, Toronto, and Liam here, who've got the surge that they're looking for. Got plenty to work for an end game, but have insisted on sticking around Curve, Tyler, and Shadow a little too long, and they seem to not like that. They're giving them a lot of shots down here now as they're pushing them out of the drop.
And they started